Alright everybody, I'm going to show you how to make your own student loan calculator today. So it's going to look something like this, where you're able to put in all of your numbers here. It'll spit out a summary telling you how much interest your loans are earning on a daily basis and how much it's earning on a monthly basis. And then you can even go through here where you're able to see if you can put in extra payments and what that would look like over time in the life of the loan. It'll also tell you when your loan will be paid off, if you're not just making the minimum payments, and if you're on a specific type of payment plan. This specifically works towards Stafford student loans. So this doesn't work towards Perkins or any loans that have interest rates that are variable. So this is fixed rates only. So to begin doing this, we're going to go into Google Apps here, and we're going to open up the Sheets, Google Sheets, create a new one here, and then I'm going to title this as YouTube tutorial. First things first is it's going to be really important to note that if you want to skip through a lot of this stuff, when we start getting to some of the equations, I've got little markers down below and that will essentially just kind of help you copy and paste things in. So what we're first going to be doing is we're going to be naming this sheet down here. We're going to rename that to loans. And then we're going to, I have 6 loans. So I'm going to open up 6 additional sheets. And then I'm going to open up one more because I'm going to have a summary sheet as well. So I'm going to rename that to summary. And then this is going to be loan number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. So we're going to start off here at loans. We're going to make sure that we're highlighting that one. And we're going to go ahead and map out kind of the perimeter of everything in here. So we're going to have loans. We're going to have the principal amount, outstanding, interest rate, and monthly payment. Next, again, I'm going to put in loan number 1, and rather than writing them all out, what you can do is just grab and drag the little blue square all the way down. That gets it all, that'll fill it all out for you. I'm going to put in totals. Perfect. And then we're going to come over here to F4, and we're going to put in next payment date. And then in H4, we're going to put in the date. So for me, currently, my next due date on my loans is January 28th, 2019. And then I'm going to go ahead and start filling these in. So the principal and outstanding amount, interest, and monthly payment. Alright, so now that we have this all put in through here, what we're going to be doing is now totaling up and summing all of these numbers. So a lot of times what will happen is Google Sheets will kind of give you a suggestion here. So we're going to sum this row right here, or this column. We're going to do the same thing for this as well. And then right here, so just in case you didn't catch what I just did there, you can grab and drag, again, the bottom square there. We're going to be taking the average here, so we're going to start typing out average. If you care to know what the average of all these interest rates are, you can do that. It's not going to be super important. When the number kind of shoots out like this, you can come up here and move the decimal place, so it's just to the second decimal place. And then same thing here, we're going to sum the total here. Perfect. Now let's say that this isn't coming out as in dollars. What you can do is just highlight the selected group that you want to see and then come up here and push the dollar for currency. That'll change it for you. So now that we have all this done, we're going to go over to the summary tab here, and we're going to start filling that out. The way that the summary tab looks like, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put in loans. This is going to be daily interest, monthly interest, okay, loan number 1. We're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to grab and drag all the way down. Again, I have 6 loans, so if you have more, you can do more. If you have only 1 loan, you can just put the 1 in there. So if you consolidate your loans, that'll be a good thing for you. Just put that in there. So we're going to put in our first equation here. Again, if you don't care to know the explanation behind this, then just go ahead down into the link below and it will have it described in there. Otherwise, our interest is calculated on something as known as daily simple interest. And the way that that's calculated out is it takes the principal amount, so your principal amount, and then it multiplies it by the IRF, which is known as the interest rate factor. So the interest rate factor is the interest divided by 365, and then you'd multiply that by your principal, and you'll get the daily interest. So the way that that looks is we'll put an equal signs here. We're going to our summary tab, put equal right here in B2 cell. Come over here. It's kind of in the way. So I'm going to select that. So we've got B2, and then we're going to multiply that by, we're going to put it in parentheses here because we want to have, so the interest rate in D2, and we're going to be dividing that by 365 days. And then we're also going to want to convert the interest rate actually into an actually number. So we divide that by 100 to get in. Push enter, and now this will tell you how much interest is being accrued on the principal amount here. So every day, this loan right here accumulates $5.13. Okay, now we can just go ahead and drag all that down there, and that'll take the subsequent cells from the other page there and put it in here. We're going to go ahead and total these guys up. We're going to push sum, enter. So on a day-to-day basis, my loans are accruing $22.99, so $23 a day. Now we're going to go over to the monthly interest. The way that that looks like is taking kind of like the average amount of days that are occurring throughout the year, and that's going to be taking equal. We're going to take that number to the side of it, and we're going to be multiplying it by 365 days divided by 12. So on average, every month, my loans are accruing $155.94. Grab and drag all that way down to the bottom there. Perfect. So now we have everything summed up and totaled right in through here. So let's go ahead and let's move on to cell number 1 here. We're going to go ahead and fill that out. Put in the principal. Outstanding. Interest rate. Payment, today's date, and then next payment. It's really important that you place all of these in the same cells, otherwise it can get pretty confusing later on. You can mess it all up. So right here under principal, we're going to go ahead and go all the way back to loan number 1 since we're in the first sheet there, and we're going to push equals. And it's going to reference this guy right here, so B2. Go ahead and push enter. Okay, next one here, we're going to go to the outstanding amount, come back here, there, and keep doing that all the way down. Equals interest rate, payment. Now to get today's date, what you're going to do is you're going to push equal, you're going to type in today, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and then push enter, and that'll give you today's date. And then you can, for the next one, on the next payment, you're going to push equal, and it's going to reference this cell right here, push enter. Excellent. So we've got that first portion set up. Now we're going to come over to D1, cell D1, and we're going to put in date paid off, and then the one right below it in D2, time it took to pay off. Alright, and then we're going to come all the way down to D7. So in D7 we're going to put in extra payment. So again, D7, extra payment. And then in A8, cell A8, we're going to reference this number right here, so the next date. So I'm going to add in another equation here. Again, if you don't care about how the explanation goes for building on this, just go ahead and copy and paste the equation from below. So since we're going to be paying back our loans on a month-to-month basis, we're just going to be making sure that each one of these cells increases by 1 month increments. And the way that you do that is you're going to push equals date, and we're going to want to know the year. The year is going to stay the same. So we're going to put reference to the cell above it, and then comma, we're going to put in the month, also referencing the cell above it, and then we're going to be adding because we want the months to increase by 1 month every cell, comma, day, reference to this, the date should always stay the same, and then we're going to close parentheses there. So this should be now February 28th, 2019. Perfect. And then what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and grab and drag this all the way down to cell 296. Essentially that's going to give us enough room for the next 20 or 25 years, depending on how long your loan is going to be. I know there's a shortcut for it, but essentially we're going to grab and drag all the way down to cell 296. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the first equation here for kind of making our payments. The equation's down below, just go ahead and copy and paste it, make sure it's in cell B8. So I'm just going to cut to a different video just so you can kind of see how that looks. Okay, so in this cell we're going to want to know how much of the outstanding loan balance is going to be at this date. And because these two dates are less than 30 days, we need to calculate the amount of interest is going to grow in between these two dates, and then add that to our outstanding balance, and then subtract the amount of payments that we could potentially be making toward that outstanding amount on that day. A lot of words, it's kind of confusing, so I wrote it up over here. So the principal amount is $36,264.82. Essentially the outstanding amount is the interest plus the principal, and so we're going to want to know again how much interest is accruing in between those two dates at the next payment date. And the way that the equation is going to reflect that is we're going to take our principal amount, we're going to multiply that by the interest rate, and then divide that by essentially 365 days, and then divide it by 100. So again, we're converting the interest into a number and then dividing by 365 days. That'll give us our interest rate factor. So we're going to take our principal amount, multiply it by this number, which will give us the $5.13, and then we're going to multiply that by the amount of days in between here. So we're going to take the difference between today's date and the next payment date, and then we're going to add that to the outstanding principal, or the outstanding amount. So we're going to take the $5.13, multiply it by, I think it's 16 days in between those two dates. We're going to add that to this amount right here, and then we're going to take the outstanding amount and we're going to subtract it by the amount that we're paying, which is going to be $39.78, plus any kind of extra payment that we might put in here. So that's what it's going to look like. Essentially this is what the equation is going to look like all the way down into through there, but we'll go ahead and add that in to this cell. Okay, so the way that that equation is going to look, okay, put equals, parenthesis, open parenthesis, and we're going to come up here and we're going to select the principal amount, and we're going to lock that in by pushing F4, or function F4, control F4, whatever you need to do, or you can just type it out, put a $B, $1. We're going to multiply that by the interest rate here. We're going to lock that in, F4, divide that by 36,500. That'll give us our interest rate factor. We're going to close that parentheses and then close it all off. We're going to multiply that then by the date difference. So this is an equation here that's going to take the difference between these two dates, and so you're going to select this date right here, lock it in, F4, comma, this date right here, F4, comma, and we're going to figure out the amount of days in between those two dates. So that's why we're going to put in quotations D for days. Okay, close that parenthesis and then close off that entire equation there. And then we're going to add that to B2, the outstanding amount, which is right here. Lock that in. Subtract that by the payments that we're making right here. We're going to lock that in. The extra payment, which is going to be in D8. Okay, so we're going to add that plus D8. Okay, now this one's going to be important that rather than completely locking it down, we're going to want this to fluctuate. So all we're going to do is just put a $ in front of the D. Okay, close off that, push enter, and this is how much is going to essentially be on that first loan come January 28th when the payment of $39.78 is made towards this principal amount. As you can see that this number right here is larger than this one. And again, that's because the monthly interest that's accruing is $155.94, meaning that every time I make a payment of $39.78, it's still accruing a lot more than what I'm paying off. So this is going to continue to keep growing until I start making payments that are larger than $155.94 towards that. Now this equation is going to change again, so again, go ahead and grab the reference down below and I'll do my best to explain it. First off, I want to know if I'm ever going to have this loan paid off. And I want this cell to express that in the equation. And the way that it's going to express that is if this number right here, cell B8, the reference right here, if this reference point is ever less than or equal to the amount of payment plus the extra payment. So the way that that looks like is right here. If that reference is less than or equal to the payment plus the extra payment, then it should be paid off. I want that cell to say it's paid off. So an example here. Let's say this reference here is $39,240 and my payments are $39,000 and then my extra payment is $400 right here. So that means that when you add the $39,000 plus the $400, it's going to be greater than this number. So when you subtract these two numbers against this one, it's going to provide you a negative number, meaning that on this date it's going to be paid off. And so I want this cell to say paid off. Yahoo! So I want it to say paid off. And the way that that is going to be expressed in the equation is, so by that equation right there, that's what it's going to look like. However, you know, if I don't have $39,000 lying around, then we're going to move on to this next equation. So if this reference, again, if this reference point here, B8, is greater than the principal amount, again, the principal amount is this. So if this reference right here is greater than the principal amount, which it is, then I want it to run this equation, which is going to take the principal amount, you're going to multiply it by the interest rate factor, and you're going to multiply that now. We're going to change this up because now it's a full month in between these two dates. You're going to multiply it by 365 divided by 12. That'll give you the average amount of days in between the months. And then you're going to add that. And instead of this time of the outstanding amount, it's going to be that you're going to adding it to the reference number, which is this guy right here. You're going to add that whole number right here, which technically that number is going to turn out to be $155.94. So all of this right here is going to be $155.94. You're going to add that to the reference, so to B8, and then you're going to subtract that by the payment plus the extra payment. Okay, so again, that's going to be $155.94. It's going to be added to this outstanding amount, and then you're going to subtract whatever payment it is going on that month plus whatever extra payment you're going to be adding on that day. It'll give you that amount. Now let's say that I've been making larger payments than, you know, $39.78. Let's say I've been making $400 payments, and eventually I get to the point where it's going to change how much the interest is being earned off of that. So the best way to kind of express that is, let's say our $36,000 is accumulating $155.94 a month. Let's say that we get to the point where now it's only down to $30,000. That's our principal amount. That's going to change our monthly interest rate that it's accruing to $129. Okay, so the way that that's expressed in this equation is that reference number, so B8, if that is less than or equal to the principal amount, so that $36,000, then what I want it to do is now I want the interest to be accrued off of the previous reference point. Okay, so to give an example here, this reference is $35,000, then it's going to change it, much like that $30,000 example. It's going to change the amount of interest that's going to be accruing between these two dates. Okay, so it's going to change the amount. So you're going to take that new reference point, so B8, you're going to multiply that by the same number all the way through here. That'll give you a new monthly interest rate, or a new monthly amount that's accrued. Add that to the previous reference point, and then you're going to subtract it by the paying amount by the extra payment. And this is how that equation is expressed. It's kind of confusing, but that's kind of how it works out. Alright, so now what we're going to be doing is writing out that long whole gambit there, that big long process, and we're going to have a lot of if statements. So if we have a lot of if statements, we're going to do IFS, okay, open parentheses here. And we're going to use our reference point, which is B8. We're not going to lock it in because we're going to want it to change. And this is going to equal, now I realized when I originally did this, I messed up. I messed up because when I wanted that reference point to tell me if it's been paid off, I realized that I was missing a couple items here. And so just fill this in, but essentially what you're going to be doing is you're typing it out this way. Reference point B8, which equals to payoff. You're going to put your quotations here. It's really important that you put a space in between those quotations there, comma, B8, which is equal to, or I'm sorry, yeah, so B8, your reference point there again, is equal to quotations, space quotations, B8, B8. So this is where the first equation is going to come into here. So B8, that reference point, is going to be less than or equal to our payment right here. We're going to lock that in. So F4 plus our payment right here, our extra payment, which is going to be D9. I can, there we go. Bring that down right there. So D9, okay. Make sure that that cell right there is locked in, so it's going to be a dollar sign there. So D9. Then you're going to close that parenthesis off. So essentially, again, what's going on there is what's going to be happening. This if statement is saying that if this reference here, B8, says that it's paid off, then I want this cell right here, B9, I want this cell to be blank. And if B8 happened to be blank, then I want this cell, B9, to be blank. Otherwise, it's just going to refer back to where this cell, if it's less than or equal to the payments, I want it to be saying that it's paid off. Now we're going to put in that next row there, which is going to be B8 is greater than, it's greater than our principal. We're going to lock that in. Then open parenthesis, our principal amount times our interest divided by 36,500, close parenthesis, times 365 divided by 12. You're going to add that to the reference number here, which is B8. Subtract that by our payment, which is this guy right here. Lock that in. Add that to our extra payment, which is going to be D9. So you can just type that in there. $D9. Perfect. So this is really, really long, I know. Again, going back to the if statement, if this reference point right here, if it's less than or equal to our principal amount, then we're going to change it all up. We're going to change it so now it says that this reference point is going to be the new reference for how much interest that amount or that loan is accruing for the next month. And multiply that by the interest rate here, lock it in, divide it by close parenthesis, and then the rest of this is all going to be the same. So I'm just going to go back through here and I'm going to copy and paste this portion of it. So I'm going to copy that portion, so Command C or Control C, and then paste it right into there. So it's going to be multiplying it by the rest of this. Okay, again, if you need references, you can go back to just rewind the video a little bit, and then we're going to have to close this all off with another parenthesis, and that is it. That writes out the rest of the code, the rest of the equation there for you, and that'll give you this amount right here. So really, really long, but it works. And then from here, all you have to do, double tap, and then that will fill it all out there for you. This next portion here is going to be important to have as a reference here. So we're going to add in equal row C8. Push enter. So I was just going to give you the number 8 here. I'm going to put that all the way down there. That's going to be important for us to later on. Okay. And the extra payments, you can just leave that blank. Nothing to be done there. And then we're going to come up to E1, so you can go ahead and copy and paste that in there. Perfect, just like that. And then enter. Excellent. So we are completely done here. Now if you have multiple loans, what you can do is you can go ahead and copy and paste this and put it into each one of these. We're just going to have to change some of the reference points. So if we have multiple loans, what you'll do is you'll come up to the upper left-hand corner square right here, click that. That'll highlight the entire section here. You're going to push Command C or Control C to copy it, and then you're going to come down here and highlighting this first A1 square, you're going to paste it. There you go, and that'll take all the references from there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change these. So we're going to, instead of that being loans B2, we're going to change it so it says loans B3. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. You can do it the simple way like that, loans B3, push enter, okay, and rather than this being C2, it's going to be C3, D3, from E2 to E3. Go ahead and double check the work there, so the principal amount is the same, principal outstanding is still the same, the interest rate is still the same, and likewise with a payment. So go ahead and copy and paste that into the rest of these guys here, and then we'll go through on how to make this look a little bit nicer. So I kind of like the colors to stand out a little bit, so we're going to change these all into orange. So I'm going to do that orange right there. I'll have that also copy and paste down at the bottom there, so it'll change it all to that color. We're going to change all the top ones up here. So we're going to change that all to this blue here. Pushy okie dokie. So we're going to change all these colors here. And so some of the aesthetics here. So I like to use Lato. That's like one of my favorite ones. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to go to 12. And come over here, change the colors. Change colors here as well. Perfect. So now we're able to change all the colors right in through here. Now if you're like me and you want to get rid of these grid lines, all you have to do is just go up to View, push on Grid Lines, and now it disappears. So perfect. Now all you have to do is whenever you change these numbers in here, let's say you changed your monthly payment to, let's say, $800 a month, that's going to affect everything else, loan number 1, all the way down in through here. So you can see that the payment comes up right in through here, and it'll change it all up. This will tell you the time it took to pay it off. If the date right here, if this cell right here doesn't show up as an actual date, what you can do is go ahead and highlight that, select, oops, excuse me, go ahead and select that, and you're going to go to Format. Instead of a number, you're going to change that to date. Excellent. So that's going to happen on each one of these cells here, so if you need to do that, you can go ahead and go back through and correct that. But essentially, if I make $800 payment for here on out with this loan, I'll pay it off in 4 years, 6 months, and 16 days, and it'll be paid off on this date, so July 28th, 2023. So yeah, hope this helps. If you thought this was helpful, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. I got more videos that are coming out. Take it easy. Thanks.